Hello, I want to talk briefly about a document that is in the content section of the course room. In particular, it talks about how you can address 5 of the assignments in our class using a relatively simple approach, namely using Gardio and HuggingFace to accomplish what you're wanting to accomplish or what is required per the assignment. One of the things that you'll notice whenever you're reading through those assignments is that whenever I designed the course, I designed them specifically to be essentially technology agnostic so that you can come in later on and use whatever technology that makes sense based upon the evolving landscape in which we function. With that in mind, rather than using the Microsoft bot framework, which is what majority of the materials talk about, an alternative approach is to use Gardio, and in particular, use it within the Hugging Face environment. So as you work your way through that document, the first two that we talk about are for week one, which is setting up both a GitHub repo as well as documenting the process of designing or developing, setting up your development environment. So basically, as long as you accomplish those requirements, with the exception that rather than explicitly having stated GitHub, I should have stated a Git repo or Git compliant repo, which Hugging Face is. So go through, talk about the process of either signing up for Hugging Face, which is one approach. So you can come in. If you haven't gotten a Hugging Face account, sign up for one. If you have one, talk about the process of having built one, or why it would be a fit for this sort of technology. So with that in mind, you can come through and then create your own space, which is one of those technologies that is relevant for this assignment. And in particular, you can do something like create a simple chatbot using Gardio. And in particular, the Gardio chatbot template is the starting point. You don't need to pay for anything for this assignment. You can keep it on the free mode, and it's up to you if you make it public or private. But just remember, if you make it private, make sure that you share with your instructor the way of accessing those files. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and make it public so anyone can see it. And again, as with everything else that I've mentioned in this course in the past, as long as you give credit where you are using resources, there will be no challenges. So just make sure that whenever you're setting up the assignments, if you do leverage things such as this particular example, which I'm creating, make sure that you give the authors credit. As long as you do so, you're staying out of the world of plagiarism, and instead you're citing those sources which you've used. So in this case, I've created a very simple chatbot using the native sort of thing, and I'm just going to ping it to see what it does, and it does a bunch of stuff. Uh, and this isn't what we want to do. So the first thing we'll want to do is go here and change it. And in particular, we'll come into the files and take a look at the app file, so the app py file in particular. Then you'll take a look at the implementation here. One of the other things that you may want to do is take a quick look at in the document that I've uploaded into the contents section as well. There's an example of how to create a chatbot using Gardio. In this case, it's a little more complicated than what we need, but it does give you a sense of what needs to happen. In particular, you need a function, which is what this is doing, that returns back something. And in particular, we want it to be messages. So the chatbot that was implemented by default is a bit more complicated than what we really want. So breaking down what this is doing, you've got your typical imports up here at the top, a doc string documentation that talks about where things are coming from, a great idea. And in fact, you likely want to go ahead and edit the document and go ahead and copy in, if assuming you're going to use that sort of example, this link, and basically say something like this example, or this bot is based on of this particular page, right? And you can go ahead and get rid of the hubbing, the previous comment, because we don't really care too much about it. This whole thing we don't care a whole lot about as well, but we do care about this function that does a response. And we're going to call this a simple respond that takes a message and history. And then in this case, all it's going to do is return I uh, and this is a little bit more advanced than you probably even really need for the very first one, but we'll go ahead and do this. You could actually go ahead and delete this other implementation up above. This is the part where we're doing the next bit here, basically saying, okay, rather than doing respond, we're going to use that simple respond, which I just deleted. There we go. Rid of the right stuff. Apologies for the confusion. So we're getting rid of the right thing. We're leaving our simple respond. That's what we're actually going to return back. And we want to switch this to be message and get rid of this other stuff because we don't really need it. And if you take a look at this article, you'll see that why I'm typing the things I'm typing, because this is basically just a bit more advanced than what we want. It's actually doing a couple things. It randomly will say yes or no. We only want it to say one thing and ideally return back what was passed in. And taking a quick look through, make sure that I didn't mess up anything too bad, and it is right there. This should be message is. And at that point, you go down and actually can add a description as to what it is you did, and it's um, and then at that point, we can just commit the changes to main. And with any luck, whenever I click back over here onto app, it'll actually work the first time. And if I go in and say hello world, you there, and hit enter, and then so and boom, something isn't right. So, and that's the fun part of this, is that as you come through this experience and you do encounter issues, document those issues, right? That's the whole point of this exercise, is to learn how this works. It may be that it'll actually work. Try again. And so yes, in this case it did, and you can see that what it's doing is giving that constant string, and then it's parroting back what we gave it. So message, and then so it's basically showing you exactly what it is. So in that case, we've created a very simple chatbot. The next step would be to go through and then extend that to use some sort of AI technology, be it sentiment analysis, be it translation, be it whatever it is. But the key thing here is you're addressing these challenges is to think of it as a holistic thing. This isn't just one single assignment. They all tie together. So by tying them together, you can actually make your life a lot simpler. So we can combine together the repo exercise with the development environment, because you can basically come back over into the files and take a look and figure out how you share that repo with your with your instructor. So take a look at this concept, read the document. If you have questions about it, feel free to send me a message. I'm purposely keeping this a little bit vague because I kind of want to see where people go with this. But you do then have the ability to then, once you've created that simple chatbot, you can then extend it to do something more interesting. And then week 7 is an assignment that many students don't do very well on. And in fact, most of the time they really do very poorly, usually missing most of the points. And the reason is this is a programming assignment. We're asking you to go out and, granted there's a few grammatical errors, I should probably turn off Grammarly whenever we're talking, but you can see that you could tie that together by simply thinking of an interface and a user interface, which is what we think when we say UI, what that means. That doesn't have to be visual UI. It could very well be a textual UI, such as a command line interface, a chatbot. So let me know what you think. I look forward to seeing what you guys submit, and I wish you all the best of luck.